Ladies and gentlemen, get on your feet. It's time to meet the starting lineup for your Brooklyn Nets. A 6'3" guard from Harvard, number 7, Jeremy Lin. A 6'4".
Meanwhile, for Brooklyn, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, Trevor Booker, Brook Lopez, and a backcourt of Randy Foye and Jeremy Lin.
To voice their opinions on things, and so it's a powerful concept that swept the United States right now. So, you know, I agree with the fact that he must believe in me, and your numbers will get better.
Here is Lin swooping through the lane. Jeremy Lin flips it home, and we know he can drive.
He sure can. But I think Lin has the mentality to be able to pull that off, because I think he's comfortable in both spots. And I think the other part of it is when Kenny needs him to get a bucket and he understands when he should be going after the bucket a little bit more to score, I think he's going to be able to turn it on and off a little bit.
Hands down, as you're saying, Jim.
Not to mention how high he was.
Yeah.
You and I can't comment on how high he was jumping.
No.
He's
a little bit higher than us. That's going to be a foul on Ish Smith.
So that's what Lin has to do. He has to understand what he can do. Continue to understand and recognize, what is the defender doing? Is he going above the screen to play him? And if he is, that's one way to challenge. If he goes behind it, is another way to challenge as a point guard. He's got a little size, too, to be able to get his shot off the traffic.
Lopez had it poked away as he...
Dan Van Gundy's squad will stand in the middle of the floor. They'll wait for the big guy to put that ball down a second or third time. And we know that 7-footers are dribbling too much. That's a bad thing.
Lin trying to race in the lane, flips it up and in. That's a nice take with a fading shot clock.
And I think to say, okay, now I have to be a scoring point guard, make something happen, get to the paint. And he draws 4 guys, the Pistons, and he's able to kind of just shift the basket.
I think just coming and working out with the guys, because I'm actually in a position of leadership versus in the past few years I've just been a backup and kind of the 6th, 7th, 8th man. And so there isn't that same sense of responsibility, or people don't look to you the same way. And so here, being back in that position, I mean, what I've been my whole life is a starting point guard. What is a leader is someone whose job is to bring the best out of everybody else. And so to be back in this position, it just I would say the last week has been really fun. Just it feels natural, it feels right, because that's just what I'm used to, and I feel like that's kind of that's part of my strengths as a person or player is to lead, and so I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I'm just thankful. And there's so many times where I would finish practice, I'd go home, and I'd just be like, man, I'm thankful to be back in this position again.
To be back in this position, and Jeremy went further in talking about the stability he feels like Brooklyn brings. Has said, this is my 6th team in 7 seasons, and now I feel like I can finally find my place in this community team. And when he's around the guys, and I think everyone is really ready for him to take control, especially of the offense.
Yeah, Sarah, and just to tag on that, I think one of the keys why I think this is really going to work for Jeremy Lin as he buries one from long range is that I think he hit on an interesting point. So now keep an eye. Here's Foye, who has the ability to play combo guard himself and set people up. A nice little cut to the basket. What do? They kick it out, and all of a sudden they have 2 guys on the floor right now who can make a little bit about their offense too, with Brook Lopez, that he's talking about sliding a 7-footer to the 3-point line for a 3-point shot in a set.
Analytics on drives from Jeremy Lin. He has always been able to get into the paint. You see the numbers in Charlotte last year. That has never been an issue for him. And he's big enough to finish as well.
Well, and he's tricky enough to get his shot off, too. You know, he just doesn't traditionally come down the lane, go up on one leg, and just throw it up. He's usually doing something to set up the defender.
We need that in our lives, Jim.
Well, under your chin to straighten you out,
that's
too, a
it.
little bit. You just did that.
Lin lines it up and cans it. Jeremy Lin.
That happened. You got to be careful. Once again, you notice how much traffic there was around him after that second dribble.
8 points for Lopez. Lin with the steal. Lin in the open floor. Lin and blew it. That was the rare backwards finger roll. Here's Lopez. Again, cradling. Found Booker, a lot of traffic there. Foy on the drive, the floater banks off. Lin will pop, you bet. The three-point shot is going down for Jeremy Lin.
Very hard to find shooters. So here he is. Does he get a piece of the rim on this? Woo! I don't know if his hand got the rim, but this is a little better. Come back and answer, and same guy, same floor, better results.
He can be a playmaker for us. That we can put him in situations where he's making good decisions, like that.
Well, if he does that, in terms of, and I don't even mean the pass, but I mean that one instinct bounce, because what they're going to think.
Part of the Jeremy Lin fan club here. I like it. Creativity to infinity and beyond. Anytime you can get a Toy Story reference in, you know at least Rondé Hollis Jefferson and Brooke Lopez are going to like that.
Very nicely done by you two. We've seen him hit a couple of those on the right baseline side in the first half.
Foy kicks. Lin, no hesitation. Got it again. Jeremy Lin, 5 of 6 from deep.
Well, and Smith recovered pretty nice.
They have their largest lead. Strong start for Jeremy Lin in his first game in a net. Smith whirly-birded it up. Drummond trying his 4th year. And the Nets have liked what they've seen thus far. They feel like, hey, he has a couple elite skills as Harris puts that on.
Some multiple skills here. We'll take a look at his shooting. This is the traditional jump shot. Notice how he brings that up, and there's a cocking position on the right hand. A lot of people have watched Mr. Curry with the Warriors shoot. He doesn't really shoot the ball like a traditional shooter. He's more of getting that shot off before he gets to that cock position. So 2 different styles, both very effective, but it's good to see Jeremy Lin with his confidence early on, looking for his opportunities, not only off the dribble, but catching and shooting the basketball. Look at that last one there at 5 for 8 on the right, the 3-point shooting.
And the catching and shooting without hesitation, a point of emphasis from Kenny Atkinson for Lin. But the shooting mechanics are somewhat new for Jeremy Lin. Last year, he reworked his shot, and he said he never really felt comfortable shooting because he kept fluctuating throughout the year between settled into those new mechanics and feels totally and completely comfortable with them.
Well, and it's, I don't know if you've ever played golf with like our producer, Frank DeGrace. He putt 2 or 3 or 4 different types of shooting.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm a good putter.
And Frank is not. Kilpatrick.
I got a tan this summer, Rooks. But
Nice.
Jeremy Lin got a comic book appearance. Now, Greg Pak, he's a Marvel Comics creator, also an Asian American, huge basketball fan, even bigger Jeremy Lin fan, introducing Lin to comic book fans as a guest star in the new edition of the Totally Awesome Hulk number 13. It's coming out in December. Lin will be showing up as himself. He'll interact with the Hulk, who's also a Korean American, Amadeus Cho. And he's a brilliant teenager, so there's brains, there's basketball, there's connection. Spoke with Jeremy. He was honored. He was excited. The type of reaction you would expect. We'll get to his teammate Brooke Lopez's.
Points in 17 minutes. Action as a net. Brooke Lopez was able to. Preseason game number 1 for that new tandem is in the books. Choose the 3-point ball.
Buckets, I think that number could even go a little by the Nets.
Let's check in with Sarah Kustok.
Jeremy, before your teammates already getting going early. First chance for you guys to get out and get live game action against an opponent. What are your takeaways from the way things went tonight?
I thought I was really proud of our effort. I thought that for the most part we moved the ball and made the extra pass. I think we need to take a look at some of our defensive stuff. They had like a 32-point quarter and different things like that. So these are the things that I feel like we definitely have a good starting point in terms of the way, we know we can score the ball. We scored 101 in our first game, and down the stretch we really were trying to hold the ball a little bit. So we know we can score. We got to shore things up defensively.
What did you think about, of course, a preseason game like this, 15 players getting a good significant amount of minutes, just the way that the offense flowed, whether it was some of the starting unit or some of these reserves that were able to come in and still run?
that's the thing that Kenny's been talking about, and it's the big reason why I really, loved everything that he was talking about from the beginning. Is just the ball is going to find the open man, and we're going to get good shots. And if you consistently get good shots, I mean, things are going to go your way. You're going to find a break. You're going to score a lot of points, and from there, it's kind of like, all right, how are we going to get stops? How are we going to get stops? And so offensively, what we did tonight, I feel like is definitely a good starting point.
What about for you personally? You set the tone right off the bat. 21 points in 17 minutes, but 5 of 8 from the three-point line. You've talked about the diligence you put in getting your shooting motion at the place that you want it to be. How did you feel out there, and how were you able to be so effective?
I'm just trying to have fun, I'm just trying to have fun, and 7 years in, and I just want to enjoy the experience, and I think that's loosened me up, I think of the verse Proverbs 16:3 a lot this season. That's kind of something that I've been kind of thinking about. It helps me get in the right mindset where I'm just having fun out there. I'm playing for God, and what you see is kind of just naturally what's going to happen when I'm relaxed and I'm comfortable.
Jeremy, thanks so much for your time. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan, back to you.
All right, Sarah will be. For Jeremy Lin, and Jim, he is our player of the game.
And I think he hit on an interesting point with Sarah's question that he answered just then in terms of having fun. And, people say this is a professional sport, and I know it is, and I know it's a lot of pressure for these guys, but if you're not enjoying yourself and playing with that carefree attitude, even though there's a lot of pressure, you stress out a lot. It just seems to me, listening to that answer and the way he played only the first preseason game, and I understand that, but after 7 years, you look at the confidence, you look at just the demeanor, the way he set the tone. Pretty good effort so far.
Stress-free for a night at least. 21 points, 5 of 8.